What's the deal with Gen Z using weird euphemisms like unalived? Social media is meant to sell ads, and no one wants to associate their products with difficult topics like death, crime, traumatic events. So it's bad business to allow such topics on their platforms. As a result, social media platforms ban these words, but since languages are ever evolving, people adapt and start using new words. It is very possible that these new expressions and words like unalived, grape instead of rape, etc. to enter in all our vocabulary and be adopted in the dictionaries. And this is what makes languages so beautiful. On YouTube, certain words can get you flagged or demonetized. That is really bad for creators, so they came up with euphemisms to get around the flagged words. Unalived for suicide, unpaid interns for slaves, great for rape, etc. Of course, people watching YouTube then pick up the terms for regular speech. Reddit even has it. For a long time on our ATA, you couldn't talk about the pandemic without your post getting removed. So it became the panini. Oh God, the amount of times I've had to tell my students to just say die killed, or when relevant committed suicide in essays. I understand that TikTok censors language, but it's an essay for fuck's sake. Please be precise. I'm not mad at the students because it's not their fault, but it does really make you resent social media companies more than I already did. I say, on a social media website, trying to get around chat filters, the algorithm bots to smack you with a temporary ban depending on the platform. People started using unalived to get around the filter, and the filters just haven't caught up with modern lingo yet. When the unalived gets you an autoban, people will just come up with another replacement. Gen Z person here. It's mostly because of TikTok censorship. You can't say certain words on the app, otherwise you'll get banned. So words like suicide or child porn get replaced with unalived or cheese pizza. Some social media platforms like YouTube, for example, have similar censorship, but they're not as harsh as TikTok. Completely normal. In the 90s, things like calling people mentally challenged or differently abled came up. There is always someone upset over how people express themselves. And once they get people to change what they say, they get insulted by the new version and try to create something new. This isn't a Gen Z thing. It started to get around censorship. The first time I heard it was when Deadpool appeared on the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon on the Disney Channel. More recently, it's to avoid demonetization or deprioritization on social media algorithms. Now I think it's just part of the lexicon. Do people actually believe platforms are trying to suppress content with words like kill or suicide, that they can't figure out to apply that same logic to unalived? At this point, it's such a commonly used word on social media, it's not being deceptive in the least. Using the term suicide on social media will get red flagged and removed a lot. It's not Gen Z, it's just being more experienced online. Okay boomer, the annoying term you have to hate is unironically. At one makes you just want to punch the user. All of us have our own euphemisms that are weird to the previous generation, X to OOB. Seeing as how you're a Dragon Ball fan, you must have at least been alive for when we had euphemisms like porn that makes no sense to the generation before you. The really stupid thing is when the word suicide appears on screen, but the person speaking says unalived. Frankly, we went for decades without this issue, and it makes people look so twee when they go out of their way to not say it. It's because the amount of censorship that's being forced on internet content creators. Like a YouTuber can't say the words rape or suicide. They can't even use the abbreviation CP without getting punished by YouTube's algorithm. It's propaganda trying to desensitize you to the misery and brutality around you. Here, check this out to understand what is happening from someone from the smarter generation. You too. Bview excerpt. CFUH9LHH for IBSM to DQ. It's to circumvent being blocked by the algorithm on social media. It's always why you'll see posts have words like sex, gun, or basically any other modern offensive word crossed out for intentionally misspelled. If you're old enough to remember the movie Brighton Beach Memoirs, it's because if God hears you, He'll give it to you. Not just censor words, but anything with a slightly bad connotation must be whispered. Internet-savvy youth frequently create their own lingo and euphemisms to express themselves differently, Generations before Gen Z have likewise used slang and euphemisms to express themselves. Most algorithms, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, suppress mature content like war, genocide, suicide, abortion, sex, racism, etc. So content creators use terms like unalived to get around it. I mean, us millennials had plenty of weird internet speak 20-30 years ago too, some of which has stuck around and is just part of normal online culture now. Other parts of which died out. Every generation has its own slang. Same reason us millennials used to throw around 1337 5p33, pawned, NOOB, and hero. Hacks, CC combo breaker, GIL, etc. We're getting old, man. Remember when Blockbuster had competition from that conservative Christian video store chain that heavily edited all the movies they carried for content? I think those people had kids. Even 50s YouTubers are using those words along with euphemisms for the virus and so on because YouTube will ban or demonetize you if you say certain words. Not just a Gen Z thing. Sites like YouTube are pretty sensitive to heavy topic words, phrases which lead to YouTubers swapping the words out to not be demonetized or not promoted by the algorithm. I have only seen people saying that term on YouTube and TikTok because if they say death, killed, and etc. they might get shadow banned. Unalived doesn't trigger any filters. Either all these people are right that it's about social media moderation algorithms, or it's a tribute to Cicero's remarks after executing the Catilinarian conspirators. Censorship. It was a way around it. The term came from a Spider-Man cartoon from Deadpool because kids' shows are not allowed to say kill, death, murder, and such words, because the peoples in charge of things like social medias are big stupid dum-dums that can't understand even basic humor and are a disgrace to humanity. Apps like TikTok shadow banning of not outright blocking content using the regular words. This is their workaround that basically became colloquial. Websites like YouTube, Twitch forcing content creators to carefully say things so as to not lose their ability to make money through the platform. Cutting corners with simple grammar and speech. Dumb is probably not the right word. Lazy is what I meant, which is no better in my opinion. TikTok censors saying dead, death, dying. That's where it originated. Then the kids started using it everywhere else because they're dumb. I assume it grew out of moderation algorithms for social media platforms blocking content with words like suicide and sexual assault. They've allowed computer algorithms to dictate their online speech and have allowed their online speech to become their real-life speech. It's because of community standards gone wild onto platforms being used. Man, I miss just being able to speak freely on the internet. It's just internet slang, whatever. The only one that really pisses me off is when they change the word lose to loose. I think a lot of it has to do with social media censoring the actual words. So they just got used to using the euphemisms. Moderation algorithms. Normally well-known creators and influencers find alternate words or innuendos for certain words. It's so they don't get banned on social media. Because 2000s Call of Duty lobby language is bad now for some reason. People will always find a way around censorship. What you're seeing is the current methodologies of that effort. It's going to be so fun. People start talking like a YT video that just drops audio when saying something naughty. It's fucking stupid unless forced to use it by app censoring it. Some people use it seriously in conversation. IDK. But as a millennial we said say stuff like adulting, ham raw XD, and dog or so to each their own. Telling someone to kill themselves would get them banned. They have to come up with new words to be toxic, because you get social media bans from saying killed suicide, etc. So people are using alternative words. They're protecting themselves from getting demoted by algorithms. This is the result of censorship. Reflects their humor, creativity, and tendency to navigate sensitive topics with irony and absurdity. It's censorship on social media. They have to do it on YouTube, Twitch, or they will get demonetized. TikTok. Words get filtered and words need to be said, and you get the result filtering into lingo. Lots of websites use algorithms to block your content if you use words like suicide, killed, etc. It's to get around censorship, and it's leached into other places either for irony or humor. It's called slang, something every generation has used since humans developed language. I dunno, dude, just ignore them until they're old enough for their kids to make fun of them, because they've been on the internet since 5 years old, and it's damaged their brains. It's TikTok's fault. They can't say kill or die, so they have to censor themselves. It's generally for sensitivity purposes, or to get around auto-censors online. TikTok censors suicide and related terms, so people have found workarounds. Because things get removed for having the no words, so they work around it. Since using other synonymous words will usually get flagged by algorithm. Gen Z saying unalived is so weird, those wacky kids. Meanwhile, hero. It started as censorship on platforms like TikTok, and it just kinda stuck. Highly regarded acoustic child. It's just a way of getting around filters. What's the deal with boomers using weird euphemisms like passed away? YouTube bans words like kill, so they use unalived. It's so stupid. It really is so stupid, law. I hate that word more than any others. I was wondering the same thing. Interesting to read the reasons. Soft language, look up George Carlin. This is a new phenomenon, probably related to bannable words on YouTube and social media. It's called being unserious. We are just superior at coping it. Social media platforms not allowing suicide, murder, death terms. It's to avoid getting caught by social media auto-censorship, because corporations are the biggest snowflakes of them all. Basically, TikTok and its ilk have ruined language forever. Censorship on social media platforms, specifically TikTok,